Excellence in our industry comes from quality teams creating quality products. In an industry that's constantly evolving, it's your unwavering grit, determination, and passion that drives innovation and elevates standards to new heights. As brewers ourselves, we know what that passion looks like. It's the drive to create something exceptional, fueled by dedication and love for the craft. As a stainless steel equipment manufacturer for over 10 years, ABS Commercial provides a full consultative approach to our customers, from consultation and design to installation and ongoing care and maintenance. Whether you're in planning, just getting started, or looking to expand, we're here to support your growth and your success. Thank you for choosing ABS Commercial as your trusted partner.
Greetings. I want to thank Andrew from Craft Beer Professional and all the sponsors, including ABS Commercial, for making this possible today. My name is Scott Kolbe, and I'm with Market Your Craft. Today, we're going to have some fun talking about the red carpet effect. It's 20 takeaways from celebrity beverage endorsements, something we've gotten really interested in lately. So first up is a hot second about us. We're a team that offers fractional marketing leadership and that crucial project management for beverage industry players. And the sweet spot for us is storytelling, planning, and tech. We've got, personally, 20 years in the business across wine, whiskey, beer, and now non-alcoholic. I was an assistant brewer for BJ's Restaurants for a hot minute in Temple, Texas, and I live in Denver, and I'm part owner in a brewery in Iowa, so I'm very familiar with the space. But what we're going to talk about today is super interesting of late. How often do you open up your feeds in the morning and you see something about a new celebrity or an A-lister getting involved in your beverage space? Like Kylie Jenner most recently, who just last week launched a new brand of vodka soda called Sprinter. And you might ask, like, why does she have any interest? And then you might answer that by saying, well, why wouldn't she? Because as an influencer with millions of followers, she's also an incredible business person. Combine those two together, and you are likely to have a runaway success for whatever brand she touches. And that might as well be beverage. What about George Clooney or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Why do they have their own tequila brands? Why would any celebrity get into this space? Well, we have a couple ideas. That could be that they just are fanatics about the brand personally, from a trip they went on to what they've experienced at parties and social events. At a deeper level, they could really respect that producer and believe in the story or mission that he or she sells. There's also kind of the social currency that they depend on, and that's bragging rights in Hollywood. Yeah, I've got a little tequila brand. You may have heard of it. It's called Casamigos. They may also need a hobby or some place to park their money. They look outside the Hollywood or sports industries to something that's maybe a little bit more fun that they could lend their passion to. And then ultimately, what's the payout for their investment? Their investment of dollars, undoubtedly, but also their investment of time and face, image, what they lend to the brand in order to help it grow. This is an eye chart, and we're not going to go over every single brand here, but the point is that most recently the team at Market Your Craft looked at all 71 of these, and we wanted to figure out why. Why would a beverage partner up with the celebrity that it did? On the flip side, why would a celebrity endorse or invest in a particular beverage? Because we want to create those linkages. We want to understand from a business perspective what works and maybe even what doesn't work. And even if we can't ourselves pony up that kind of mountain of cash for our own brands, or we don't lend tens or hundreds of millions of followers to our social channels in those efforts, all of these beverage celebrity relationships have learnings embedded in them. And we found really 20 takeaways that we can immediately offer up for you today. But we want to simplify this eye nastiness into a word cloud. And if you remember how word clouds work, it's based on the frequency of words. And so tequila obviously is the big winner. Now, don't get me wrong, we're going to talk beer, but it's worth noting that all of these celebrity types, all of these A-listers, they're investing, for the most part, in spirits, and a vast majority are spending their time and money in tequila. So what does that mean, and what can we take from that? You know that tequila and mezcal are hot right now. It's one of the fastest growing spirits styles. Now, from an aging perspective, different from other whiskeys, has a shorter aging process. Again, this is a benefit because less assets, fewer money tied up in barrelage and spirits sleeping for any length of time. It's money that's not working hard for you. You better believe that the celebrity benefactors are looking at that thinking, yeah, okay, my turn, it's a little faster. Startup costs are probably less than opening up your own distillery here in the States, brewery, because most of these folks are partnering with an existing distillery in Mexico. Could be well known, could be little known. Maybe the tequila brand is white labeling a sub-brand for the benefactor. It's removed from the United States, and that means that the startup costs are more so what's it going to take to get my name on the label and start getting more dollars from this. And then obviously spirits have some of the highest margins in beverage. But why aren't they picking beer? You and I know this. Beer is more of a volume play. It's not about the one-offs. It's not about the rarities in most cases. It's about cases, raw cases. It's about volume because those margins, again, are a little slimmer. The raw ingredients continue to increase in cost. We unfortunately have a more complicated distributor network than most other beverages, especially on the non-alc side, right? And so it's a little more of an investment to get into beer because of the layers of distributor networks. Craft beer drinker favors the authenticity and transparency of a brand, and that is not typically the way that a celebrity brand endorsement works. It's more about the celebrity than it is about the brand itself. And like it or not, the beer demographic for most part skews a little older. We're obviously trying to market, and we're working to promote the craft beer business to a younger consumer, but that's going to take time. So we need to start thinking like a celebrity as a craft beer industry. We need to get out of our templated old school thinking about marketing, and we need to start looking at best practice examples of brands that are moving, brands that are growing. Why are they growing? What's working for them? And then we need to steal and scale that. We need to understand what's working. We need to make it relevant to our business. and then scale it down for our budget and our audience. And we're going to talk about 20 tactics to do just that. Starting with online sales, and we know that this is complicated for any number of reasons, but 44 of 71 of those brands are actually in this game. They've found a way to sell online. Some of them are doing it themselves. They're using those platforms that everybody's familiar with: Shopify, WordPress, Magento. They might have a catalog of beers, wines, spirits, non-alcs, hop waters, maybe a merchandise catalog, and it's all fulfilled right there by them, depending on the volume. Some of that's shipped if the state allows it. Some of it's just for pickup or curbside, a holdover from COVID-19. A lot of these folks in the celebrity world, they partner with a service, and you've seen these services before. Reserve Bar is famous. You go on to any number of different whiskey websites, order it for delivery near you, and what you find is that they're shipping it from some obscure liquor store in Beverly Hills, California. Okay, being in Denver, maybe you could find a place a little closer. But again, this is the model that exists right now. It's about online fulfillment, state-to-state licensing and permits, where to warehouse the product, and how to actually fulfill it. So, as a takeaway from this, ask yourself, am I selling online? And if not, why not? What are the restrictions? We had some great panelists prior to this talking about different taproom strategies sponsored by Arrived or moderated by Arrived and Aaron. Arrived is a great example. Any number of point of sale systems pretty seamlessly integrate into the brand's website. And so why aren't we enabling those sales where legal, where possible? At least on the merch side, right? Get the brand into people's hands, if not the product. But then take a look at some of these others: Saucy, Bavana, GoPuff, Drizzly, now Uber, rest in peace, Instagram, what you can do with local grocery stores if you have shelf space. There are a lot of online ordering and fulfillment options. Let's take advantage of those. Just like Olipop. And you're going to see different examples from all around craft, because here at Market Your Craft, we know that looking outside of the industry for best practices is sometimes the best way to move the industry forward. Olipop's a great example of a Shopify site that has a great store locator. They've got actually a Johnny Drinks collaboration, Johnny Drinks being the father-son duo who's really creating incredibly engaging content around the cocktail industry. They've got press releases, so they're actively getting industry journalists to talk favorably about them. So they're doing a lot right. They're not without fault, though. They've got a celebrity benefactor by the name of Camila, and she's an investor, but there's no mention of her on the website. You better believe in social there is, though, to make sure that her followers are now Olipops and vice versa. We talked a little bit about Reserve Bar and Ciroc. This is just one example. We're going to talk a couple more times in this presentation about Ciroc, but Reserve Bar is a service that can enable the sale and fulfillment of whiskey and wine. A lot of these services, they shy away from beer because of delivery storage conditions. We want to make sure that our beers are fresh and cold and in a hot truck, and so then California might not necessarily help that. Number 2 is product locators. If you don't already have one and you're at retail, find a way to add one to your site. 37 of the 71 celebrity beverage pairings did just that. They found a way to enable a map of all the locations in a geography. And that could be the on-premise, the bars, the restaurants, off-premise, the stores, grocery stores. And they're indicated as such on the map. And so you're helping the consumer to find your brand wherever it is, whether it's in the tasting room, a firsthand personal experience with the brand, or a separate one where they can actually take the brand home with them from retail. This only widens the reach of your audience and your sales, and we shouldn't look at it as cannibalizing. No, it's tough to imagine spending any time promoting other people's locations other than your own. But again, it's increasing your reach and you're building a followership, and ultimately it's sales. There are a couple of services that are really good for this. You've probably seen these. You may already be involved or have a subscription with VIP. That actually can integrate very seamlessly with the website, and it's really easy to do. So if you want any tips or tricks on how to do that, just let us know. But it's an immediate way to add visibility to your map and product locations. Stockist, nearest you, Grappos, WP store locator for WordPress, Store Point for WordPress and Shopify. These are all tools that, to a greater or lesser degree, allow you to either manually input and maintain your list of store locations, or to integrate with the service for more real-time accuracy on those locations. And this is one that we really liked. It was Haha. This is a tequila brand that has a relationship with the band called the Chainsmokers. And as many product locators as we've seen, this is the most visually attractive and engaging one that we've ever seen. And it comes back with a list of results specific to your geography, labeled as such on off-premise. They make it very easy to find the product while keeping in look and feel of the brand, which is pretty cool. The next area we're going to talk about is the founder. Now, if the celebrity benefactor actually was a co-founder, a founder of the brand, that's slightly different than being an owner of the brand, obviously. But we would ask, to what extent being the founder and being highly visible in the brand could be a differentiator for you? Do they have a voice? Do they have a personality? Are they good on camera? Because you're going to be creating a lot of content with these folks, at least you should be. Are they visible in the tap room? Do they have that kind of interaction with guests? All very important. And if the answer to 2 or 3 of those is yes, then probably you want to lean into the founder and make sure that they're present on most of the messaging materials that you send out. Just like Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar with Santo Tequila. But remember this, it's tough sometimes to be the founder, and you actually put a target on them to a certain extent for press and social media and backlash, complaints, the good and the bad, right, of being the founder or the owner and having that kind of a high visibility role within the brand. You want to make sure to have a plan if something goes south. From a press perspective, you want to have some sort of crisis communication plan. You want to make sure that there's a script and a plan and steps and procedures and assigned people so that something pressworthy doesn't derail the business. Imagine a celebrity type who gets into a little bit of trouble outside of your brand. That has a direct reflection of your brand. Social, make sure that if they're present on social, there are guidelines for how and when they interact. Email and digital, make sure that those same templates are being used. And with the tasting room, just make sure that if anything happens, make sure your general manager is involved and empowered, enabled to quickly deal with customer situations as they arise. They're going to help you just de-escalate those. And this is Dwayne Wade, legendary NBA basketball star, who went left to center and opened up his own winery with his family and has leaned into it as an active participant in the building of that brand. Now, merch. Most breweries, wineries, distilleries, they've got some incredible clothing, merchandise, barware, gifts in the tasting room available for guests who visit. Well, again, let's put that up online. You don't have to offer shipping. This doesn't have to become a side business that takes up more time than it's worth. You can start with pickup or curbside. And then maybe if the volume grows, take a look at offering shipping. Hire somebody part-time, pre-shift, to send out that day's orders. Whatever it takes, the point is to get the brand into people's hands. And merchandise is a great way to do that. And celebrities do that in spades. Terramana with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, they have an incredible catalog online. And that's because, again, being a distillery in Mexico, it's a little more difficult for guests to visit, for drinkers to have that firsthand experience in the tasting room. Granted, it might be a great destination, but for now, in order to bring the brand to the people, they're really taking a look at product locators as well as buying online and selling that merchandise to make that feeling, that emotional connection with the drinkers. What's a good mix? You don't need me to tell you how to run your merch strategy. We like t-shirts, hats, barwares, definitely get some stickers in there, patches, gift cards. All of these things are very important. It's natural for an owner of a brewery to have that sense of pride in what they've created. And so sometimes that skews the merch strategy or the mix to something a little closer to what he or she would wear, he or she would like. We always have to take ourselves out of that mindset and really open up to the idea of what the customer wants. And we call that sort of merchandise 2.0 strategy. And the best way to do an audit internally on whether or not you're there, you take a look at whether the offerings are kind of stale and dried up. Maybe your selections aren't relevant, visuals aren't arresting, there's no personality in the merch that you have up on the shelf right now. Price could be an issue. Maybe the quality isn't where it used to be from your suppliers, something to address very quickly. Team might not feel comfortable wearing it on a day-to-day basis. You always want your beer tenders to be sporting your shirts and hats. Maybe it's not properly cross-promoted across the facility and there's no sense of urgency to update it. All of those things are kind of dead giveaways that your merch strategy might be a bit of a dog, and we want to take a look at freshening that up with a little 2.0 thinking. Broken Skull and Steve Austin, again, an incredibly loyal following for an attitude and a lifestyle of a wrestler turned business person, working with El Segundo Brewery in California, actually. Now, image isn't something we're especially keen on. The use of image typically happens when your story or your liquid doesn't really differentiate you. And so you lean on image as a replacement, kind of like serving beer really, really, really cold in order to cover up impurities. Now, it's not exactly a parallel, but the idea is that you're going to want to probably shy away, if you even have the opportunity, to have an image-based promotion for your beer. A lot of these celebrity beverage pairings are strictly based on image, and we see that as a bit of a short-term campaign versus a long-term strategy, just like Cali Rosa and Adam Levine. Now, they're an incredibly good-looking couple, and they both have their own followers, and sure, there's a little bit of a story, but they downplay the story of the tequila family actually receiving wine barrels instead of whiskey barrels in order to age their tequila, which gave it that rose color. I mean, they downplay that in favor of all the beautiful models and imagery on the website, and you just wonder, like, where's the transparency? Where's the authenticity in that? Granted, I'm sure it's selling a boatload, but it's probably a bit of a short run play. Breakups are never easy to talk about. It's tough. You might lose a brewer or a key team member, and you may wonder, like, well, how do we go on? It's true. It's tough, especially in a small business. Same thing is true with A-listers. They might fall out of love with the brand that they invested in or the brand that they're endorsing. And that's natural. If they're keeping kind of an arm's length relationship with this brand, then potentially a breakup is inevitable. Now, we see a couple of different reasons why a celebrity might break up with the brand or vice versa. There could be creative differences, maybe the image of the brand or the moral alignment between brand and celebrity just isn't as solid as it should be. Maybe the celeb got a competing offer for another tequila or another vodka, and the other one's more attractive, and so they sever the ties. Could be changing trends, drinking-wise or style-wise, that really just make that product that the celeb is endorsing fall out of favor with the public. That happens. Could be public relations issues that just plague the brand and the person. Maybe there are money disputes. But despite that, brands still dive in with 2 feet. They just have to watch themselves to make sure that the breakups don't end up messy and submarining the brand like Diddy and Chirac. Huge legal battle, bad press, multi-year, just unfortunate. Who's to blame? It doesn't matter. There's a lot of finger pointing going on. However, these are hopefully issues that your small to mid-sized brewery can avoid at all costs. Social media is table stakes, and if a founder, a celebrity type, or in your case, a founder or owner, if they're a little more active in social media because they've got that personality, then that's a good thing. It makes the brand a little more approachable, more credible. And if you've got a clear brand story and if you give that founder parameters, again, they're going to work within the boundaries that you set for them. And it's ideal for the brand to say as well as listen, for the founders to use this as an opportunity to speak, but also as an opportunity for there to be a microphone for consumers and what they want and what kind of content is engaging to them. And if the founder is listening, then they'll adapt. Just like Dos Hombres with Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, incredibly active on social media and just very fun, very transparent and authentic. Press, we feel like this is still one of the more underutilized means of getting your message out there, updating the local journalists and media when there's a new release, when there's an event series, when there's an improvement or an expansion at the brewery. All of these things might take a little bit of time to put together, but they're free. You curate a list of media friendlies in your area or one state over or regionally or whatever your geographic footprint. You get that list of people and you send them a quick one-pager when you have something to say. Stay top of mind. Journalists will write about you because they're always looking for content. Celebrities have the benefit of having agents and people who do this for them. And so you bet there are some that are pretty active in press releases because it only increases their own image to have an association with a successful brand. Just like Atlantucky from Nappy Roots. Again, Southern alt rappers, passion for beer, open up a brewery. They're pretty active with press releases because they know that it can work for them and it can draw additional eyeballs to the brand and hopefully traffic to the tasting room. Sampling, getting cans in hands. This is always important for building awareness, and it has a multiplying effect because you get in front of somebody who loves you, they're going to tell their friends about you. They're going to become ambassadors for your brand. What we would suggest is just like celebrities look at any of their A-list style events and Oscar parties and all of the activations associated with their personal brand, we would say take a lesson from their playbook and consider sponsorships, events, and maybe even the old school takeover just to get those cans in people's hands. Other ways that people do this really effectively are donations to charitable organizations or community groups. You could look at festivals, marquee events, or trade shows. Is there an opportunity to bundle? Could you team up with a local food delivery service for a sampling opportunity for an adult proven 21 or older? Again, we always have to remember coupons, a little more difficult in alc, but non-alc beverage can definitely benefit from this. Just like Troy Aikman slinging cans of his 8 Elite Lager, he also was premiering his beer at the National Beer Wholesalers a couple of years ago, and he was there speaking, and they handed out cans to everybody in the audience. And he knows how to work the room, that's for sure. He's still got it. Collaborations, not new to anyone in craft, but we encourage you to think outside of the typical brew day collaborations, partnering with maybe restaurants or local personalities, retail where appropriate, in order to really grow that audience. And there are a ton of different ways that you could spin this. It could be pet kennels, the Humane Society, related businesses, landmarks, parks, police and fire enthusiast groups, maybe even theaters or production houses, outdoor adventure organizers, maybe conferences and causes. just sit down with your team and brainstorm on a blank sheet of paper every relevant organization that could benefit from a relationship with your brand and approach them. See what that looks like. See how it shapes up. That's what the celebs are doing. Just like Cameron Diaz and Catherine Power. So you could look at this as very strategic, and the collaboration, loosely put, is between Cameron Diaz, an actress, and Catherine Power, a serial entrepreneur and internet personality. And basically, they got together over their love of wine and their distrust of wine labels and transparency. And Evelyn was born. You can argue the clean versus other labeling practice and how that has benefited the brand and how it has made it challenging for others in the space, but they've since backed away from that labeling because of all the backlash. Similar to imagery is lifestyle, but lifestyle feels a little less gross, if that makes sense. On the plus side, you want your drinkers to see themselves enjoying a beer in your tasting room. And that's imagery of guests enjoying themselves with friends and family, and a live music band playing, and you've got fun and energy, and all of that makes me want to be there. And we always say that. From a celebrity perspective, again, it kind of nods to a lack of product substance. It's more, I want to take you someplace, and then there's a cocktail, and then there's a spirit, then there's a bottle of wine. So it's definitely lifestyle first and product second, and sometimes that can seem a little watered down. We just want to make sure that if we use lifestyle in our efforts, that we're helping people see themselves sitting at our bar. That could be designing your web pages to really highlight your amenities with those photos we talked about, building out your events calendar, showing those people having fun at your place, front loading the most valuable content on the home page, planning for the beauty shot. There's Jennifer Lopez and Delola bottled cocktails in Italy. We're getting to the end. So planet or cause, we want to make sure that if we have that opportunity, we message about something that matters to us, whether that's 1% for the planet, it's the sustainability efforts, reclamation from a CO2 and other raw materials perspective, what we're doing with local charities. Celebrities do this pretty well. Part of it is they have to maintain an image. Part of it is they truly believe in this. Some are checking a box, unfortunately. It's just the way things go in Hollywood. With this particular one, Champagne Talmont, we liked the opportunity for Leonardo DiCaprio to really partner up with this brand and to focus on the sustainability message of it. And they do an incredible job prioritizing that messaging and that content on their website and all of their marketing outreach. Sometimes breakups end up in a legal spot, and we certainly hope this doesn't happen to you. We also can't claim to be able to recommend any lawyers or best practices on how to deal with lawsuits. That's not our game. But if something like this does happen, like it has with a number of different celebrities, there is a way to manage to it. There are a bunch of different reasons why a celebrity might break up with a brand. You could see this also on your side at your scale. There's a breach of contract, intellectual property, IP disputes, could be libel, could be fraudulent behavior, partnership disputes, liability claims, or maybe even something with the team internally. Again, you hope that this doesn't happen, and you do your best as a business owner and manager to avoid it. However, if it does, Think about it this way. You can figure out who's named in this lawsuit, gather all your records, make sure to call an attorney if you don't already have one, talk to your insurance company. That's important. You decide how to respond, and then you file that response. Again, we're not making recommendations on who or what, but in general, just take a more balanced, a more systematized approach to a lawsuit if it happens, and try and keep it out of the media and try and be humble about it, not like 50 Cent and effing vodka, which settled out of court, I guess, and he sold his minority stake for $60 million. So there's that. But you don't ever want that kind of a hassle to follow you around in the brand. Personality is important. The more personality you show, the easier it is for a drinker to engage with you emotionally. And people call brand personality a lot of different things. Sometimes it's design, sometimes it happens naturally, sometimes it's the owner, sometimes it's staff. Just know what your personality is and use that as kind of a true north for all of your messaging. Just like Ryan Reynolds, he's brilliant. He's funny, at least our demographic, our generation. When he's talking about aviation gin, and in this video talking about the pumpkin spice craze, he's just funny about it. He's tongue in cheek. And the aviation gin brand definitely reflects his personality as an owner and as a spokesperson. Just like that, video is incredibly important content for brands nowadays. And we just say shoot something, shoot anything. It doesn't have to be perfect. Start with permission if it has to do with your customers, or you could have Matthew and Camila McConaughey talking about Pantalones tequila, and they do some shock videos about not wearing their pants. And then he goes on late night and dances around in tight pants. And so he's funny and he leans into it. And this is part of the personality of the brand. It's and part of promotional tactic, but it's working. Owners who are involved, they have more of a stake in what's happening in the business. And there aren't very many that take that active role in the operation. We call this the maker effect. And over the long run, it actually yields better sales and better awareness for your brand, just like Betty Buzz and Blake Lively. She's extremely involved in the brand, and it definitely reflects. And also on that note, if you're anyone other than an older white gentleman, stereotypically speaking, in craft, especially craft beer, then celebrate that fact. Women owned is a bit of a theme that came up in our research, and there were 9 women founders and 3 women owners. Lean into this, just like Kate Hudson with King Street Vodka. You don't want to be a name only. There are a number of different brands that the celebrity just attaches the name and lets it go. That's a short-term tactic. It's definitely not a long-term play with any halo effect, just like Brothers Osborne and Whistle Pig. Loyalty is tough to come by nowadays, and we've talked about this before. We really can't expect it. Maybe take a look at Arrived and some of your other POS options as far as transactional loyalty and really using email and SMS text to prompt additional purchase or trial. And we liked this from 19 Crimes, but it's still somewhat of a punch card effect. And then lastly, where possible, figure out how to tell your unique story. And sadly enough, there were only 2 brands out of 71 that we felt told a good story, one of which was Metallica and Blackened Whiskey actually using music during the fermentation process and scientifically proving that it worked. Pretty cool. And this also brings me to a photo with Dave Pickerel legendary distiller who was behind the Black and Whiskey Metallica relationship, but passed away in 2018. This is Dave, my buddy Mitch, and I at Maker's Mark Distillery. So what we've learned, we've learned 20 or so tactics that work for the celeb types, but we need to remember that you need to get the fundamentals first. You need to get your brand story right. You need to remember that it doesn't have to be costly to be really effective. It's okay to steal an idea and then scale it to meet your needs. You don't need those celebrities. Lastly, please, please, please just keep your nose clean, because media attention in that way is not a good thing. More than anything else, actors know their audience and they play to their audience. And in knowing that, they get into character. They know what beers potentially could resonate with guests. The taproom experience, they understand whether or not it's enjoyable. Does your brewer owner founder interact and engage with customers to understand what they truly want? And do they have a good finger on the pulse of what's trending? I want to thank you for attending today. This has been incredible. It's been fun to research. I'd love to give you any one of our guides for free. If you want to go to this URL and use this CBP Spring 2024, you can download any one of our guides, including our new red carpet effect guide that we talked about today with more detail. Again, my name is Scott Kolbe. I'm with Market Your Craft. This was the red carpet effect, 20 takeaways from celebrity beverage endorsements. And I want to thank Andrew at CBP and ABS Commercial for their sponsorship of today's seminars. Thank you very much and have a great week.